tell the story of talking to Andy about the drunk guy leading the table at the Central Group. It was a really impactful moment, and how ultimately you didn't want to become that person. And Andy taught you that it was really important to recognize that that was a moment you could see somebody who 10, 15 years down the road you didn't want to be. That's the kind of sobriety you didn't want in your life, and how impactful that moment was for you. Tell that story and just remember it. Remember what it was like to talk to Andy. Remember how offended you were when you sat at the table, recognizing that somebody had been out drinking and was leading a table as a drunk. Just remember that moment at the Central Group. Remember being there. Remember being offended. Remember the smells, the tastes. Remember what it was like to be in that moment and be completely broken, and then have to talk to Andy after the meeting, and Andy just giving you truth about recognizing this moment to think ahead about the kind of sobriety you wanted to have. Remember how important that was, and tell that story. Good morning, friends. Hope you're all doing well today. Hope this finds you healthy, happy, excited, giddy. It's Monday. It's a brand new week. We have one heck of a Sweet 16 showing up on Thursday. Man, oh man, what a great weekend for March Madness. I was incredibly grateful for the nail biter games. We even finished on one there with TCU and Arizona, I think it was. Yeah, man, what a nail biter of a game that was. First seed versus like a ninth seed, I think, or maybe a sixth. I don't know. Either way, but like TCU just took it to these guys, and what a great game. We're all super lucky to have been able to watch that. So congratulations to every one of you kids and parents and coaches and everybody that took part in this tournament, because what a weekend. What an incredible weekend to say college sport is back, and we're super happy for it. Anyways, having said that, super happy to have had the 12 steps kind of knocked out. It certainly didn't shape up the way I had hoped. I was really personally looking forward to a bit more of a, how do I say it, man? A more logical, cohesive, kind of knit together series of videos, if you will, from steps 1 through steps 12, and then eventually into the 12 traditions. So I'm grateful if you paid attention, if you watched, if you got anything out of those. I'm beyond overjoyed for that. But it was just wonderful to try it out and to get it done, and to actually have that kind of up and into the ether and kind of share my ideas. Maybe it's something I'll revisit in the future. I think I would like to, that's for sure. And definitely maybe even script it, you know what I mean? Maybe just kind of bite the bullet and script it and get some help to do that. Kind of go from there. It's supposed to be my take on things, right, at the end of the day, and kind of my experience with Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps, and I think it turned out okay. I don't know. Go check them out. Again, I would love it if you guys drop me some comments, some critiques, and let me know what I could be doing better. So, for today, what I wanted to do, I'm going to dial back the gain here a little bit. We're upstairs, so it's definitely more acoustical stuff to deal with. What I wanted to talk about today, and I'm not sure, man. If you hear a little bit of a voice memo blurb at the beginning, it's because I made the voice memo here when I was thinking about it yesterday, and that's what the video's about today. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll throw the voice memo in there at the beginning so you guys can hear my actual voice memo. Maybe I won't. We'll figure it out from here and just kind of go forward. I want to go back to my Truth Bombs Part 1. I want to go back to that. What inspired that video specifically was me being party to a thread, or commenting on a thread that popped up. There's a person who had recently came into recovery, was really sharing their experience, strength, and hope on social media, and was definitely, I'm sure, well-intentioned in that this person wanted to be helpful to others. Unfortunately, what came out of that, and what seems to be coming out of that, is a very hard lean toward one form of recovery, as opposed to being all inclusive. And while their intentions may certainly be the best intentions, there's definitely some, anti AA conversation happening in those threads. And not that I'm pro one form or another. I'm very vocal and open about the idea that Alcoholics Anonymous is certainly what worked for me. That speaks mostly to the generational story that I come with. My dad got sober in AA, and so that certainly led me to the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous. I certainly tried myriad methods of recovery. You name it, I was there. AA, NA, a couple of recovery centers that I was in. A couple of times I was in these recovery centers as well. Therapists, doctors, you name it. Psychiatry, psychologists, the whole slew of things that one might, expect from 20, 30 years ago. What I found in these threads, though, was specifically bashing AA and AAers. And I'm going to use the word bashing because they were certainly going after AA and AAers as this, group that wasn't welcoming. And where I struggle with the whole idea is right here. In these moments, and especially on social media, what we fail to do is pinpoint the individual, the statement that came from said individual, and the damage done therein. One person or one person's opinion doesn't speak for, my goodness, 1935 till now, that many years of successful recovery among its membership. And I would say that for anything. I mean, I'm sure that there's people in faith-based recovery programs that have equal amount of success, and that speaks to the individual and their drive to get sober. What I would want to avoid in these situations is specifically the idea that the entire fellowship is at fault, as opposed to one person's experience or one person's opinion casting a dark shadow. So, I'm going to go to this story that stands out today, to this very day, as one of the most important lessons I learned. I had come to the meeting, and at this point I was probably, I'm going to guess, 6, 7, 8, 9, X amount of months sober. I want to emphasize the fact that this wasn't my first time in the fellowship. It's a story that I came home and shared with my wife that night immediately. And that's how impactful it was. But at any rate, I was very active in the program, very active in the home group that I had become a member of. So I was getting there early. I was making coffee. I was setting up donuts and chairs and tables and turning the lights on and opening the windows. And I'm very aware that at this point it was a very bright, well-lit summer day, and I had gone outside after setting up the meeting, as I often did, to have a cigarette, to smoke, to kind of welcome people as they were coming in. It's kind of, the process that many of us enjoy. Once the meeting is set up and the room is set up, you head outside and you kind of wait for people to show up and you shake hands and, you get in the welcome committee, right? So I was doing that, and I recognized one person in particular who I knew to come to the Central Group meetings quite often, and he had a pretty familiar odor about him. He had been drinking. So this isn't, something I was unfamiliar with. I had recognized throughout my lifetime that sometimes guys show up and they definitely have that odor about them. So let's move forward. The meeting kind of gets underway and it gets started, and the chairperson of the meeting is looking for people to lead tables. And I get to the table, and who's leading the table but this individual who was visibly intoxicated, and smelled such. So as a newbie, I was instantly offended. I was instantly taken aback, and throughout the entire meeting, throughout the entire table, that's all I spun on, was just how this guy could be drunk and leading a table. Like, how could we have allowed this to happen? How could this oversight have taken place? How could it have taken place? Instantly jumped up on my soapbox and, shaking my finger in my high and mighty attitude. And I resolved, in the midst of it all, to have a conversation with the senior members of our home group. And I did that. So the meeting lets out and everybody goes home, and we're cleaning up from the meeting. And I pull aside one of the most senior members of the group. And I spoke to him and I said, hey man, like, we all know this guy's still struggling. We all know he's having a difficult time. Maybe in the future we should be a little more diligent, about not letting somebody who's visibly and obviously drunk run a table. And he just shook his head and he laughed at me. And I was like, you need to take me seriously, man. Like, this is a real thing. I'm not making this up, right? And he's like, obviously, dude, like, he's coming. And that's a step one, is he's coming and he's showing up. And maybe the problem isn't his problem at all. And I'm like, how could you say that, man? And then he kind of flipped it back on me. Maybe the only problem anybody has is you. You have the problem. Nobody else has a problem with it. And I was like, what the heck, man? And man, oh man, I was upset and I was spinning and I was angry, and I can feel it in me as I talk about it today. And how dare you say I'm the one with the problem? I'm not showing up in meetings drunk. And he put his hand on my shoulder and he kind of steadied me and he kind of said, Stacy, maybe you need to look at this as the kind of sobriety you don't want to have. Maybe this is your higher power's lesson for you today. Maybe it's your opportunity to kind of look at the whole scenario and think 5, 10, 15 years down the road. What kind of sobriety do you want to have? Do you want to be the guy showing up at a meeting drunk? Or do you want to be the guy showing up at a meeting, welcoming that drunk? And that stays with me to this day, man. I'm going to get a little emotional because the person who shared that with me is such an important part of my story. And I'm so eternally grateful. And moving away from Windsor was leaving a lot of these people behind, but their encouragement for me to continue on and grow my family in recovery has never ended. I wanted to share that because in today's day and age, when we're talking about these threads that we end up finding ourselves in and these comments start coming past, we have every opportunity to choose to be offended by it or to let it go and move past it. One person's comment, one person's thought, one person's idea, right, wrong, or indifferent, doesn't ultimately affect the outcome of our sobriety. It's ours. This is the place where you will know full well the freedoms that you enjoy. The freedom that we find in recovery is second to none, truthfully. We have choices, and the choices are always ours, first and foremost. So hopefully that one makes sense. I'm going to watch it back and say thanks for tuning in today, man. Thanks for checking this one out. It's a long one by the looks of it, so I'm just going to say again, thanks, guys. It works if we work it one day at a time, and I am cheering you guys on, man. So have a great day, and let's crush this week ahead of us, man.